Well, let's talk about the books, because it's quite an interesting. You'd come up with an idea for a book, and you sort of got a publisher via Twitter. Is that right?
Yeah, that was you mentioned Comedy Club for Kids. So Comedy Club for Kids is an organisation that puts on comedy gigs, and they tend to have 3 comedians doing stand-up that doesn't have any swears or adult references. It tends to be a bit sillier, and they would go to. I think they have a residency at the Soho Theatre, and I was doing a Comedy Club for Kids, and I was just trying to think of new ideas. I wasn't doing comedy specifically for kids at the time, but I got asked if I'd do this, and I thought, yeah, why not? And I'd seen a few of the big name comedians had done it, and I thought, ooh. And I was walking my 2 girls to school. They would have been around 7, 9, and I just had this idea pop into my head that was Old MacDonald heard a fart, and I just thought it would be great as a song, and come up with all the different fart noises that different animals would make. So a duck would be quite tight and quite so. Yeah. And we would walk to school, and I'd be going, Old MacDonald heard a fart. He thought that fart came from a duck with a here and a there, here, and then the cow was quite flappy and was quite. And I did this at Comedy Club for Kids, and we sang it together, walking to school, and other parents looked at us and thought, oh, geez. And it kind of went a bit playground viral, because they all started singing Old MacDonald heard a fart, and the dinner ladies banned them from singing it. And as soon as they banned them from singing it, I thought, I should do something with this. And I made a cover, and I started doing some inside spreads, and I did the kind of little instructions on each page of what to do with your mouth. So, for example, I think it's the horse one, is the one where you have to kind of bite your tongue like this, and then blow. So it's a here and a there, and each one has a different kind of, like the duck is you have to make your mouth small and tight, like the knotted end of a balloon, and then breathe in. So it's a here and a. And yeah, so I did a cover, I did a few spreads. I'd never done a kids book before, didn't know how it worked. I know now it's a really difficult thing to get into unless you put out a tweet saying, does anyone like this idea? And so that's what I did. I put the tweet, I was in a gig in Kentish Town. It was in a basement. And I sent the tweet, went down to the basement, no reception. I came back out, and it had like a couple of hundred retweets. And I'd had messages from various publishy people, agents, saying, yeah, we really like this, can we meet? So that's how it happened. Terribly lucky, but it's quite funny.
It's not lucky. It's very clever to mock up, to do it in that way, and to show, to show that. And that's I think Twitter isn't very good for it anymore, the way it's developed. But there was a point where it was very good. I had a book idea that I tweeted, and within 5 minutes of me tweeting, someone had basically offered me a book deal. In the end, I didn't do it. But it's amazing how you can get something out there, and then someone can spot it and go, yeah, that's something. Or you can build something over a long period of time as well on Twitter, and then people come to it.
And now it's all gone to shit.
Now it's all fucked, and you have to go back to the traditional ways of having a parent who's a publisher. But that's great. So you did that book. You did a few of those. You did
that was a 3-book deal with HarperCollins, and my editor was the same editor with David Walliams, which was interesting. And then I did a book called It's One Giant Leak for Mankind, and that was basically about the moon landings, because that was 2019, which is the 50th anniversary of the moon landings. And it was kind of half accurate historically, so it kind of charted the progress of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins as they went up there. And then when they got onto the moon, there are these blue moon baboons that steal their lunar module, and they can't get back home, but they discover a giant leak, and they have to eat the inside of the giant leak, which makes them fart, and they fart themselves back home in a...
And at what point does it leave what actually happened behind?
Yeah, that is what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens, so that's just copying down what happened.
And trying to think what I did next. And then, after that came the great pandemic, and that's when I did some chapter books.
Yeah. Which are great. I've been reading today this Trixie Pickle, Art Avenger, and I love it because it's, they're funny, obviously, but they're self-referential and so it's full of art, which you're fantastic at, and it's great to have that as well. But it's a story. I think it's obviously kind of hopefully attract kids who aren't big readers.
I was never a big reader. I read the Beano, and then probably a bit younger than I should have. My dad brought back a couple of copies of Viz from where he worked, and he hid them badly. And I think I was probably about 13 or 14, and I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of was all I would read, was comics. And my own two daughters, they read stuff that is far more advanced than I ever would. And I just thought it'd be great to do something. I love art, and it'd be great to do something that was art-based, but for kids who don't necessarily like reading. So it's full of comics and illustrations, but there are also these fact files about the different. She's basically her school's version of Banksy, and she gets back at horrible teachers and gets even with bullies by being influenced by different art. Do you remember Roger the Dodger from the Beano? She's basically Roger the Dodger, but with art.
It is. It's a lovely, synthesis of a cartoon and a written book. I think it works really well. I love the thing, because you acknowledge we're going to learn, but it's going to be funny and it's going to be about farts and whatever as well. So you learn about the artist, which I find interesting anyway. But it's not. It doesn't feel like here comes the teacher to crowbar in.
That's exactly what I didn't want. So I'm glad you've got that. I've filled it with. So what I used to do when I would walk my kids home from school, most parents say, "Oh, how was your day at school?" I would always say, "What was the funniest thing that happened at school?" And then I would nick those things and put them in the books. So there are a lot of actual, and there are a few bits in there from my life as well. I think one of the funniest bits was. Which happened to me was when my daughter was potty, and it's in the book. One of my daughters was potty training, and was in that stage between the potty and the actual toilet. And we were out in Luton, and she needed to go, and we're trying to get her on the toilet. And in Debenhams, which is no longer there, they had like this toilet that was almost, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't. It was a bit of a secret toilet. And she needed to go, so I took her to the secret Debenhams toilet, and it was just me and my daughters, and we took her into the women's one, which I don't know why, and she went into the cubicle, and I kind of just stood around, sort of half, not in the toilet, but with the door kind of just prized open, and I kind of let her get on with it, and I heard some straining, and I heard a little splash, and I was at that stage where we were trying to be really encouraging, so I kind of said, "Well done, darling. You've used the pot. Do you want me to come and help you wipe? You've used the big girl's toilet." And she said, "I've not been yet, Dad." And about 3 minutes later, a rather sheepish-looking woman came out of the other cubicle. And so I've included that in the book. Yeah. The characters have been changed.
But it's so terrific that, this is big. I mean, there's a lot of comedians, some very famous comedians. You mentioned David Williams doing kids' books, but then there's a lot of people who I would say, are not household names, including my wife, who are doing these fantastic kids' books. We've had a few of them on the podcast as well. It is, and I think they are, they're very strong books because they're genuinely funny. This is true of your books and of the other people we've had on, I think, because they're written by comedians, but they also have a story, and they're as I was saying to you backstage, I'm reading some books to my son. Most kids' books are pretty good these days. He's got into reading these books about fairies that are absolutely the shittest thing I've ever read in my life. That I have to read it to him, and I do all the voices and stuff, and I try my best. But they're fucking shit, and there's a million of them. And we're never going to get to the end of it. So thank you for writing something good. I mean, you know, my daughter, who loves art and is a really good artist, is going to love these. So I can't wait to give her these books.